Interview.
Hi everyone, you're listening to Perkūno namai. This is Joey Tempest from the band Europe.
Sveiki visi, čia Mandas iš Perkūno namų. Šiandien kalbinu Joey Tempest, grupės Europe vokalistą bei įkūrėją. Welcome to Lithuania. Thank you for sparing a couple of minutes for us. How are you liking it here so far?
So far so good. I mean, me and John Norum, we flew in from Warsaw this morning. Went to the hotel and straight here for a sound check, and it's a great place, and the people we have met so far seem very nice, and so we haven't played here before, so we're very excited about tonight.
And that is a good introduction to the next question, that even though this band has formed quite a few years back already, there are still places that I think, well, you have missed, I think. So what places for you personally would be the ones that you would still like to visit but just hadn't had the chance yet?
We have, well, of course, Lithuania. But we're doing that tonight, so that's fantastic. But Australia, we never got to play. For some reason, we had some tour booked a long time ago, but we had so much to do in Europe, and so one day we'll go to Australia. But we've been everywhere else, and we tour quite a lot. We've probably done 1,000 shows or something by now, and we're getting good.
Rock me till I hit that floor. Rock me till I take no more. I'll rock this hungry heart of mine. Rock me down right to the ground. Rock me like you never done before. Then rock me just a little more. Yeah. Ready or not.
Interview.
In the beginning, your band was called Force. And why did you change the name, and why did you choose such an interesting name, Europe?
Well, there was another band where we came up with Force probably from, there was a UFO album called Force It, and I guess we took it from there, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then we wanted to change name for a few reasons. There was another band called Rising Force. It was Yngwie Malmsteen's band.
Yes, of course.
And they were in the same town, so it was kind of close, we thought. And so I started thinking about names, and we used to listen to live albums, and one of our favorite live albums was Deep Purple, Made in Japan. And another live album that we listened to quite a lot was Made in Europe with Deep Purple. And I think that's where I got the name Europe from. So I introduced it to the other guys. They were a bit quiet, you know. I had to get them really drunk to get them to before I told them. They were like, tell us now. No, have another beer first. And then I told them late night. I had a party at my house, and they said, yeah, we'll think about it. But at the end of the evening, they were drunk, and they thought, yeah, it's pretty cool. We're stuck with it now, you know.
Europe really has a very strong association with, of course, the album and the single, The Final Countdown. So that was the album that really gave you the international breakthrough. So do you still recall how things changed? Like how Europe changed as a band before and after that album was released? Did you notice a very sudden increase in your popularity? Did your world flip upside down, or was it like a controlled and gradual progression on your way to the top?
No, it was pretty crazy back in 86, 87, but we started in 82, and We toured in Sweden, Norway, Japan. That was it really. And then we recorded Final Countdown as third album. We had an American label then and signed to New York directly. So we knew it was kind of a start of something, but we didn't know it was going to be that crazy, you know. It's amazing to have been there, to have been one of the biggest bands in the world for a while. It's just an amazing feeling. But it's also kind of crazy because everybody wants a piece of you and they want you to be everywhere all the time. So the songwriting is, I was worried about, you know, we need to take time off for songwriting and stuff, so. But Out of This World turned out pretty good too, so. Yeah, it was a big change. Started seeing yourself on MTV, started hearing yourself on radio. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it was kind of crazy, yeah.
In 1992, if I'm not mistaken, you guys decided that it was time to take a break from Europe. And tell me, did you expect that this break would last so long? And what did you guys do during the 90s?
No, it was never meant to be that long, really. But I knew that I wanted to make a solo album. I wanted to learn more about music. I think the 80s was okay, but the metal and the hard rock scene was becoming very one-dimensional. The production sounded the same, and it was overproduced with digital recording equipments and stuff. And I thought to myself, I need to start from the beginning. So I just said, let's take a break. And the other guys went on tour with Glenn Hughes, amongst others. And John Norum moved to LA, did solo albums and played with Dokken for years and years. And the rest of the guys toured and played with different bands. I started to go to all this Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Jackson Browne concerts I could. I bought all the records from Van Morrison and everybody, you know, Randy Newman, anything I could learn from. Because when I grew up, we started listening to Deep Purple, Thin Lizzy and everything, and that was really cool. But I felt there was something missing, so I studied a lot of songwriting and lyrics from the masters, you know, like Bob Dylan and Bob Marley, and you know. And I had to learn more. And that's what I did in the 90s. I was recluse. I was living in an apartment in London for a few years there, and then I went to Ireland and lived there, and I was away from the whole world doing some solo albums and buying CDs of singer-songwriters, you know, to learn more. And I think now when we start again, I think we've used the new experiences and, in our new music, so I think it was good.
So would you say that you have reached a high enough level for your own standards of musical knowledge?
Yeah, now we have on Bag of Bones and on War Kings, but we weren't ready. And when we did Prisoners, we weren't ready. Actually, Prisoners was meant to be our start for organic recording and not so much overdubbing. But for some reason, we were living in LA. It didn't turn out exactly the way we wanted to start our new journey already then. But luckily Prisoners turned out to be a great rock album anyway, but that was when we were starting to think, hang on a second, we need to take away a lot of this stuff. We need to be more raw and organic. So we already talked about it then. But then we went on a break, so.
I know that sometimes, baby, we didn't see things eye to eye, but
Let's move on to the latest album, War of Kings. So, the name of the album and, of course, the title song. Could you just mention what kind of a reference is that?
Yeah, we were rehearsing for War of Kings, and we didn't have a title for the record. We never really worry about it. It always comes in the studio anyway. You know, we talk about different lyrics and stuff, or titles. But in the rehearsal, I said to John Levin, I wrote War of Kings with in the beginning. We started that song. It feels like something. It could be something from the old days in the lyrics here. The melodies are kind of. It could be something old, and for the inspiration. And I said maybe I should read that book again. It was called The Long Ships. In Sweden, it's called Röde Orm. It's about the first kings and first Vikings that started traveling from Scandinavia out in the world towards Russia, towards this way. They actually went this way, a lot of Swedes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also the Danish and the Norwegians. And I read a book again, brief, I sort of glanced through it, and I got the idea for War of Kings. It was just, the song sort of felt like it should be about that. The music will tell you what the song should be about if you listen to it over and over and you go to rehearsal, and in the end you feel like, yeah, that's what it should be about. So yeah, it's about the early kings that took power, were elected or not elected. You know, they wanted to be kings, so they said they were kings, and it was a lot of double crossing going on, and it was a crazy time. So yeah, it's about that.
Talking about the musical part, this album really gives out, well, at least to me personally, when I listen to it, an old school vibe. Some songs really feel, you could even say like Deep Purple-y or Led Zeppelin-y. And did you set out to try and return to your roots with this album, or was it just something that happened effortlessly?
It did happen organically and effortlessly, but I think we had something in common with Dave Kopp, the producer. He also loved those old Deep Purple and Black Sabbath albums. He was more into Black Sabbath, I think, when he was a kid, but we were more into Deep Purple and Zeppelin, so it became a talking point when we met, you know. And we talked about doing a classic album, like you would remember for the sound, and that you would remember for certain instruments and things. That's why we brought in the Mellotron. The Mellotron is doing quite a lot of job on that record. And the thing is, when you're young, when you're sort of between 15 and 25, you will get your biggest influences that will stay with you forever in your life. And then you go on a journey, and then you sort of land and come back to that. So when we go into studio, we can't help it. We sort of fall into that now. It's kind of a classic rock, organic, the way hard rock should be recorded, really, the way you record drums properly, guitar and bass. The 80s and 90s, everybody went on this high-tech journey, but rock and roll is best when you feel it organically, and it's an expression in there, and it's not overworked, you know.
So, talking about that, in one of your songs, you state that you still drink out of the fountain of them days of rock and roll. So, yeah. In your mind, what were the truest and purest days of rock and roll for you?
I think they are. It's different for everyone. You know, it's different for everyone. But it was those years between 15 and 25 when we listened to all those great records, all those live records, and when we wanted to dream about touring the world. But the days of rock and roll it goes back to the 40s, you know, when it started, or 50s, 60s, 70s. To us is very important because that's when they recorded drums and guitar the best, and the bass. That's when the real compressor and the tubes and sounded the best. Beginning of 80s maybe as well, but then it went kind of crazy, you know, with digital stuff. But there was still great stuff in the 80s, of course, musically, but the equipment was kind of experimental digitally in the beginning. Yeah, so it's different for anybody. Days of rock and roll. I think days of rock and roll is when things were done properly, you know.
Of all the streets, of all the days, you just had to invade my space. Of all the moves, of all my crazy moves, just had to be made on.
the plans of Europe for the future? Do you think that you will be looked up as the band who just reminded the others how it's supposed to be done?
That would be nice. No, I think we'd be known. In the end, we're probably going to be known as adventurers, that tried different things and never settled and did the same kind of albums all the time. That's what I like, and I like Rush, the band Rush, for that reason. They were always different. The albums, they took different turns and did different things, and it's amazing. That's not to say that bands like AC/DC or Iron Maiden, they're great as well, but they stick to a formula, but it works for them, and it's amazing. I mean, I think they do great stuff. But for us, we like to challenge ourselves, do slightly different things with different records, and move in different directions. We can afford that luxury. We're the underdog still. We're not the mega band. We're free to roam.
Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and I hope that everyone who will come to your show tonight will have a kick-ass time, and everyone who will miss this show, well, it's their own mistake.
Yeah.
So thank you very much once again for your time.
Thank you for talking to me. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, let the good times rock. Hey, yeah.
You're listening to Perkūno namai.